The infinite capacity of an open heart. Welcome to a journey of transformation where we're about to explore one of life's most profound paradoxes. That true strength isn't measured by how much we can endure, but by how deeply we can love despite what we've endured. 3 weeks ago, I had the extraordinary privilege of sitting down with Sherri Weaver, whose wisdom on love, grace, and healing has quite literally transformed thousands of lives across communities that desperately needed her message. If you haven't encountered Sherri's work, imagine someone who speaks truth with such perfect balance of gentleness and power that you find yourself nodding along, tears streaming down your face, wondering how she managed to articulate the very thing your soul has been trying to tell you for years. Her remarkable ability to translate deep spiritual insights into practical everyday wisdom makes her exactly the guide we need for this conversation about keeping our hearts open in a world that constantly teaches us to close them. During our conversation, Sherri said something that stopped me in my tracks. Love isn't something that happens to you. It's something you choose every single day. Those words have been echoing in my mind ever since, challenging everything I thought I knew about how love works. How many of us have been walking around with our hearts half closed? Not because we want to, but because somewhere along the way we learned it was safer that way. We're taught to protect ourselves, to guard our hearts, to build walls after disappointment. And for many of us, especially those who've carried teams, raised families, held down households, supported communities, we've often had to function in survival mode for so long that softness feels like a luxury we can't afford. But what if the very thing we need most is what we've been trained to avoid? What if keeping our hearts open, even after heartbreak, even after betrayal, even after disappointment, is actually our superpower? This is what Sherri Weaver's wisdom revealed to me. Love isn't just an emotion that washes over us like some unpredictable tide. It's a practice, a daily choice, a muscle we strengthen through use, not something that atrophies when tested. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this truth. A family from the Kingsland Prayer Ministry faced what many would consider a parent's worst nightmare. Their newborn granddaughter was diagnosed with congenital diaphragmatic hernia, a life threatening condition requiring immediate surgery after birth. Can you imagine that moment? The sterile hospital room, the doctor's carefully measured words, the sudden collapse of all your joyful expectations into a single terrifying question. Will she survive? This family faced months of uncertainty, extended hospital stays that felt eternal, the emotional roller coaster of progress followed by devastating setbacks, the physical exhaustion of constant NICU visits, the strain of separation from other loved ones who needed them too. But here's what struck me about their story. Instead of allowing fear or bitterness to take root, they made active choices daily. This isn't the road we would have chosen, they said, but we are a family of faith. They showed up for one another with compassion, even when exhausted. They celebrated every tiny milestone, successful surgeries, moments when baby Emery Hope survived setbacks, and practiced grace as they navigated both medical and personal challenges. Their love wasn't just emotional, it was practical, it was present, it was persistent. And something remarkable happened. Rather than being torn apart by crisis, their unity grew stronger. They became pillars for each other. Their story inspired their broader community, with prayers pouring in from neighbors across Katy, creating a ripple effect of collective love that sustained them through their darkest hours. This is what choosing love looks like in action. It's not pretty Instagram quotes or heart emojis. It's showing up when you're tired. It's extending grace when you're frustrated. It's keeping your heart open when every instinct screams to shut down. But here's the thing about keeping our hearts open, it has to start with ourselves. And this brings me to another powerful example Sherri shared. There's a content creator known as Sherri who recently shared a viral video featuring Felicia Rashad's advice to see what's living inside you instead of worrying about how others perceive you. This message resonated deeply, especially among professionals who face constant external pressures to conform at work, to hide vulnerability, to maintain an image of unshakable strength. Many of us have learned to withdraw emotionally after setbacks, to protect ourselves from further hurt by closing off, to wear masks that hide our true selves because we're afraid of what might happen if people saw the real us, with all our doubts, fears, and imperfections. But embracing authenticity is an act of self love. When Sherri shared her own journey publicly, she wasn't just being vulnerable for vulnerability's sake. She was demonstrating how powerful it is when we refuse to feel shame over past hurts. When we choose to show up fully in work meetings, in relationships, in life, despite previous disappointments. Initially, there was fear around judgment, but choosing transparency brought unexpected support. The segment resonated widely on social media, where thousands engaged positively around messages about inner worthiness beyond external validation. This ripple effect helped normalize conversations about vulnerability, inspiring many more to cultivate gentleness toward themselves while remaining open hearted toward others. Because here's the truth, you cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot love others authentically when you're harsh with yourself. You cannot extend grace outward if you haven't first directed it inward. Which brings me to the second powerful truth Sherri Weaver shared: grace is your greatest strength. Now, when I say grace, I'm not talking about some delicate, passive quality. I'm talking about a fierce, transformative power that changes everything it touches. Grace is what allows you to forgive others and yourself. It's what helps you let go of bitterness. It's what enables you to approach each new day with openness rather than suspicion. Grace is the foundation for healing from past pain because it allows you to move forward without carrying old burdens or closing off your heart. Taraji P. Henson demonstrated this beautifully in a June episode of The Sherri Show. As someone frequently under public scrutiny, from Hollywood relationships ending publicly to speaking out against injustice, she could easily have hardened herself emotionally or withdrawn altogether. Instead, she chose radical compassion for herself first. I allow myself space for grief. Then, outwardly through advocacy work, supporting mental health initiatives, especially within communities suffering generational trauma. Years ago, she might have hidden pain behind humor alone, but now she integrates both humor and vulnerability, showing that strength lies not just in surviving storms, but in loving anyway afterward. Her honest dialogue sparked broader conversations among viewers who saw themselves reflected, not just celebrities, but everyday people, striving for hope after disappointment. She launched campaigns destigmatizing therapy, using her platform intentionally. Countless fans credited her openness with helping them seek support, forgive themselves, and believe again, reminding all that grace is powerful medicine. This is what choosing grace looks like. It's not weakness, it's your greatest strength. But what if I've been hurt too deeply, you might ask? What if I've closed my heart for so long, I don't know how to open it again? This brings me to the third truth Sherri Weaver shared. Your capacity for love is infinite. No matter your history or heartbreaks, you are always capable of giving and receiving love in new forms with friends, family, community, or even strangers who cross your path. Don't let disappointments diminish your belief in the enduring power of love. Think about it this way: when you break a bone and it heals, the place where the break occurred actually becomes stronger than it was before. The same is true of our hearts. They don't have limited capacity, they don't run out of love. They grow stronger with each break if we allow them to heal properly. But proper healing requires us to keep our hearts open, even when it hurts, to practice grace, even when it's difficult, to choose love, even when we've been disappointed. As Sherri would say, your heart is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, that sounds nice, but you don't know what I've been through. And you're right, I don't. But I do know this: closing your heart doesn't protect you from pain, it just prevents you from experiencing joy. When we close our hearts, and we might avoid some hurt, but we also block love, connection, growth, and healing. We exist rather than live. We survive rather than thrive. And we were made for more than just surviving. So here's my challenge to you today: look at your life and ask yourself honestly, where have I closed my heart? Where have I chosen protection over possibility? Where have I built walls instead of bridges? Then take one deliberate action to open your heart in that area. Call the friend you've been avoiding. Forgive the person who doesn't deserve it, not for their sake, but for yours. Extend compassion to yourself for the mistakes you keep punishing yourself for. Say the vulnerable thing. Risk rejection. Choose love when fear would be easier. Because here's what I've learned from Sherri Weaver and from every person who has ever chosen to keep their heart open in the face of pain. The moment you decide that love is worth the risk is the moment you begin to truly live again. Your heart's capacity is not finite. It does not diminish with use. It expands, it grows, it strengthens with every act of love, with every extension of grace, with every choice to remain open. You are not depleting your resources, you are multiplying them. So, today, right now, I invite you to make that choice, to practice that love, to extend that grace, to keep your heart open, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because a world full of open hearts is a world transformed. And that transformation begins with you.